Chevra, guten Erev Shabbos. How are you? I hope everyone is gesund, stark, und freilich, begashmis v'ruchnis. Hope everyone is healthy, strong, and happy, physically and spiritually. As usual, we'll start with tzedakah. G'deilat tzedakah shemakarev sagula. Mashiach should come now. We're also going to say a prayer, which is going to be a direct request to minimize and to take care of all problematic situations, and that's the blessing for healing. Rifeinu Hashem v'nei rofei Hoshienu v'nei Mosheach Kisasenu Oto v'alei ruch for shleim molachol makisenu kikel melech rifin lemon v'rachmanoto barachato Hashem roifei cholei Amma Yisrael. So heal us, Hashem. We will be healed. Help us, and we will be saved. For you are our praise. Grant complete cure and healing to all our wounds. For you, Hashem, our faithful and merciful healer. Blessed are you, Hashem, who heals the sick of his people, Israel. Today, we're going to talk about, which I suspect is the number one question of most people. And that is, why are they suffering? How do we, for a religious person, an observant person, a man of faith, how do we reconcile suffering, especially for those that are doing the right thing necessarily? And it's just too difficult. It's so hard when you think about the pain and the challenges that people have to go through. And when you look at life and you think to yourself, not everyone is handling it in the right way. And then you see the ramifications or the consequences, etc. And we're talking about the bare necessities in life, health, family, livelihood, things like that. So today, primarily we're going to discuss a Sikha from the Rebbe in Chelik Yutes, Re'ei Aleph, which talks about it. And I'm just going to say some points from that Sikha, but I urge you to look there. And it's a subject we've spoken about many times, but today I hope to focus maybe more on one thing more than the other, and finish off with a story that I don't think I said before, some stories. Anyways, this week's Parshas, Shabbat Tzavarach Melul, I think we mentioned it says in Lubavitch, the tshuva wind from Lubavitch hat sich angegeben blasen from Shabbos Mevorachim. The winds of tshuva started blowing from Shabbos Mevorachim Elul, which is the Shabbos. And in Melbourne, the winds are blowing. In Australia, it's now winter, so it's taka, the winds blow, and so it's easy for us to immediately think of the winds of tshuva. In Lubavitch, the original Lubavitch, in the Friedrich Rebbe's talk, he says it was a summer day. And the Rebbe gave a talk explaining what the Friedrich Rebbe wanted to bring out. But anyways, in the first pasuk of this week's parasha, it says, that's the pasuk. See, I present before you today a blessing and a curse. So the literal meaning over here is a blessing and a curse, and the question whether it's going to be a blessing or a curse is dependent upon you. And here, the Rebbe gives a talk in chapter 19, in volume 19 of the Sichos, about, number one, how could it be, in general, that if we're talking about Anoichi, Misha Anoichi, the highest level of Hashem, see also the Baal HaTurim here, I probably spoke about it once, but I don't want to get into it now. And he says the word Anoichi over here corresponds to the Anoichi Havai Elikecha, the first of the 10 Commandments, I, which is referring to the essence of Hashem, and we all believe that Hashem, no bad comes from above, and when the Eibishter gives Anesim Ba'ayin Yafa, he gives generously. So how could it be from a God that's good, could come something that should be called a klola, a curse? So the Rebbe brings a profound Targum Onkelos. There's something called Targum Onkelos. There was a translation from Onkelos that was made in Babylonia, and there's a Targum Yonason. And the Rebbe says that the Targum Onkelos translates the word klola as curse, but the Targum Yonason translates the word, as chilufa. He doesn't say a blessing and a curse. He says a blessing and its exchange, or a blessing and its substitute, or its blessing and an alternative, so to speak. What does that mean? The Rabbi explains, we'll soon get to the difference between Talmud, Bavli, Targum Onkelos, and Targum Yonason. But the point is the message, profound. If you say bracha and klola, blessing and a curse, that means they're two separate things, they're different things, and one has nothing to do with the other. If you do the right thing, you get a blessing. If you do the wrong thing, you get a curse. And they're opposites, complete opposites. Like saying cats and dogs, or apples and oranges, or night and day. But if you say one thing and its substitute, or its exchange, that means that they're the same thing, they're connected. For whatever reason, they became exchanged. For a technical difficulty, there was something that got in the way. But the concept, if you say chilufa, means there's this, and for whatever reason, it turned out there was a chilufa, like a substitute. It became exchanged, but really it's the same thing. You know, like a pinch, what is it called? Pinch hitter. So you have the star, the leader, the one who's the first guy, but for whatever reason, he got knocked out of action, but something took his place. But that thing that's taking his place is a continuation. It's a different player, but it's the same position, with the same intention, with the same purpose. So this is what the Rebbe says. We're not going to go into the details. Targum Onkelos was in the time of Babylonian, time of Golos. So therefore, it's more like we can call it a Golos mentality. A slave mentality, let's say. An exile mentality. So in an exile mentality, we're confronted more with the exile. So we're focusing on the exile. On the opposite of the blessing. I don't want to say curse, but yeah, the Torah says curse. But if we're living with a Yerushalmi, in Yerushalayim, in a state of mind of Geula, which means we go back to the source, and we see things behind the veil of the darkness, then we understand that even when something looks bad, it's not really bad. There's no such a thing as bad. It just became exchanged for a technical reason. There was a glitch in the system that it turned out to be this. But it's really the same thing, and it's coming from the same source. It's all out of the true ultimate goodness of the infinity of Hashem, of the Anochi. Now, let's first go step by step, briefly, because the truth is you can start a series of talks. Why do bad things happen to good people? You can go on like this for 10 shiur. And like I said, since this is the number one question that most people are dealing with, and I think we mentioned this before, the Rebbe says there's 3 places in Tanya where the Rebbe talks about it. Chapter 26 in Tanya, and I think he gets HaKodesh 11 and he gets HaKodesh 22. So we're not going to solve and address all of the concept of suffering in one 25-minute talk. Nevertheless, let's briefly go through it. So the truth is, for most people, a major issue and a major point is to have the right attitude. It's about an approach. I'm talking for myself now. First, I'm saying again and again and again, every Yid should have Kol Tov Sela B'Tov V'Nideh V'Nigla in every single area of his life. But again, I'm talking to myself, which I've been through some things in my life. I give a Shavah Idol HaKadosh Baruch Hu for everything. But sometimes what the issue in many circumstances were I didn't know how to eat it. I didn't know how to approach it. Once I had the paradigm shift, or once I had the right perspective, it gave me an approach, and therefore I was able to deal with it. Sometimes in Chassidus it's called reframing. We spoke about that too a couple of times. Once you reframe it, and once you have the right approach and the right attitude, it changes everything. To give one analogy, which we spoke many times, is two people are climbing a hill and they both have a backpack with 50 pounds of matter. One of them is cursing every step of the way, groaning, "Echtchen, bechtchen, krechtchen. This is impossible. This is torture," etc. And the other one is smiling as he's doing the same exact thing. So we're dealing with two human beings that have the same might, the same strength, the same physical abilities. And scientifically, mathematically, call it whatever you want, they're doing the exact same activity. This one is carrying 50 pounds, no less, no more. And this one is carrying 50 pounds, no less, no more. One is groaning and moaning and complaining and entirely full of grievances every single step of the way. And the other one has a look of bliss and a smile on his face. Why? The Rabbi gave this analogy many times. Because one is carrying a backpack of diamonds, 50 pounds of diamonds and gems, and the other one is carrying 50 pounds of rocks. So there you go. They're both going through the same experience, but it's not the same experience. Because for one person it's rocks and for one person it's diamonds. And so true, it's very, very true concerning life. Sometimes you have to start with the reframing. If what you're going through life is part of your relationship with Hashem, and you look at Hashem as a father who loves you, and the father is trying to do everything he can to make it the best for you, and this also is the best, then you'll be able to face life. And this I say clearly, and I'm talking about myself, I don't like mentioning something personal. The thing that gets me up in the morning every single day for my feet to be able to touch the ground is only because I believe the Eibishter wants my toiv anirvanigla. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't be able to get out of bed in the morning and even take one step. And that's why it's so important. And that's why this is the message of this week's Parsha. And it's Chodesh El, and it's coming the days of judgment. My friends, the first thing you have to live with is that, hey, look deeper. Hey means look deeply. Come to the conclusion that Anoichi, you're dealing with the highest level of the Eibush himself, Aspas Ma'os. And what is he? Noisen. He's pouring blessings. He's giving, and he gives generously. Lefnechem, to gives you in the most deepest level, you should have inner content, inner bliss. Ha-bracha, everything is really a bracha, a blessing. And if it doesn't look like a blessing, look at it in the way of the Targum Yenison, a gula mentality. Temporarily, you're going through this, I don't know what you want to call it, a blockage. Because of a side reason, it had to happen. For now. But ultimately, we'll see how it's Teva Nirvanigla. So this is what it means to reframe. This is what it means. It's very important that it starts with an attitude and an approach. And the Rebbe explains in the Sikha that what does it mean that it changed as a substitute? That comes with the Makabel. And when it comes out of Hashem, over there it's all good. And there's no tricks. This type of good, that type of good. Good. Good is good. The real good. On every level. But what happens is that on the way, for whatever reason, mitzad the Makabel, if something you did something with that it couldn't come through the pipes, through the I don't know, through the channel, through the antenna, in a proper way, something happened that as it came to the antenna, to the receiving instrument, it became substituted, that it turned out to be something which seems to be negative. And guess what? According to some explanation of Chassidus, which I don't want to get into now, the mere fact really that it became negative ultimately even shows that it comes from even a higher level of goodness, which I don't want to get into now. Even though I said 2 seconds ago that the real thing is Hashem is good. And what does it mean he's good? He's good on whatever level you think is good. That's it. The Eibishter wants your best interest. The Eibishter loves you to no end. And the Eibishter wants your good the way you understand good. Right now you're living through something in life which is the furthest thing from that. You have to first realize you're dealing with Hashem. and that what's going on right now is a chilufa. It's just a substitute because of something that you might have done, which is causing the blockage and not letting it come through the goodness in the ultimate way, and it's only temporary. And the more you receive it and accept it in a proper way, according to what it says in different places in Chassidus, then the sooner we'll be able to go through this temporary stage and see how the chilufa, the exchange, the substitute, turns into bracha. Okay, but the first thing you have to realize is there's no such a thing really as klola. What's a klola? It's chilufa. It just means there's good, which is revealed good, direct good. Then there's chilufa, which is indirect good, but it's also good. And in a way, it's wow, to see such a source. The way the Rebbe explains it to Bigarai, to bring this proof is a very, very powerful proof. Now, another story to bring out an idea of a paradigm shift, and we spoke about this many times, we'll just say this B'kitzer, is Al Derech say the Baal Shem Tov, what he accomplished. Just to say briefly, in a certain sense, the Baal Shem Tov came when he came, and the nation, it says in the Svarim, was in a state of a selfless faint. We were decimated, we were crushed, we were deflated, demoralized, call it whatever you want. And he came along as a rejuvenating spirit, as a lightning, as a resurrection of the entire nation. How? One of the things was that he emphasized that every single Jew is Bnei Yechidish Melech Malchei Amlach HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So basically, you have a person, we said this many times, he's living in a shack and he has 33 holes in this wall, in the ceiling, in the floor, water's pouring in from all sides. He only has 10 fingers. He doesn't know how he's going to stuff all the holes. And the mess got bigger every single day. But wait, it's getting worse. That's how he feels. And nobody cares, nobody's looking after him, nobody worries. The Baal Shem Tov came to this person, and he told him, you're not a pauper, you're a prince. You're beloved by Hashem like a ben yochid, like an only child to parents that are aged. So imagine you have a 70-year-old, right now we had a story in Israel 2 years ago, that somebody was, I don't know how old, 80 plus, and he had a child for the first time. Imagine you have a physical father, mother, that they're overaged, and they have one child. All the hopes, all the dreams, all the love is channeled to this one child. The Baal Shem Tov said that's how much the Eibishter loves every single Jew, and even more than that. Because a human being is limited, so his love is limited. Hashem is not limited, so his love is unlimited. Every single Jew, the Eibishter loves like a single child born in the old age. So you're not a pauper, you're a prince. When the Baal Shem Tov went around and told that to people, it uplifted them. They transcended their petty trivialities. What do you mean? They were talking about Bu Nechaim Mizayni, but it became different. What before was intolerable was now able to face. Like all the stories, like the Magid, he said in the Rehem Mizandish, I don't want to get into it now. But the point is, that when he was a pauper, his entire being, he looked at himself as unworthy, unimportant, insignificant. No one's thinking about him. I could wither away now and die, and no one would care. And no one shares the pain. No one's thinking about me. Now, all of a sudden, first I'm not a pauper. I'm a winner. I'm Bnei Yechidish Melech Malchei Amlach HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm royalty. I'm the king's son. I'm a prince, not a pauper. So that itself, that is extensional shift, that paradigm shift, that reframing changes everything in 1 second. What happened to the 33 problems? All of a sudden now, they're not 33, they became 15 in 1 second because of my change of my perspective. Like the guy walking with the 50 pounds, like we said before, it's not 50 pounds of rocks, it's 50 pounds of diamonds. So now I don't look at it as 30 problems, they became 15, and hopefully we'll get to it. but the most important inner part of myself, since I now feel like a prince, it's a different being experiencing those things, and therefore the entire experience becomes a different experience. And that's what we're talking about over here. About look at it deeply. That there's an anoichi. There's an anoichi. Misha anoichi atzm samahos. That's noisen. Lifnechem. He chose us. And ata v'chatonim mikol amim. And there's an ava atzmus of every single yid, of every single yid from the Eibishter to the yid. And that changes everything. Now, there's certain eitzes, but they're not easy to swallow. Sometimes the bitter medicine. So if somebody's suffering, I hope the Rebbe will forgive me, and it's too much, so I believe you can cry. Sometimes you have to cry. Just like if you had a mother and you had a difficulty in life, and you went to your mother, would your mother tell you, be positive, have betochen? I don't think any mother or father would answer that. I think a mother or father would say, I hear you, and they'd give you a hug, and they'd cry with you. Now, on the one hand, it's a chutzpah on my part. The Rebbe would speak, I agree with that, I'm not going against. But I'm also saying that the Eibishter has Rachmanis, say that even if today, for whatever reason, as a tut weh, schreit man. Ist doch nicht beefshari. Man hat doch wegen a boss of a dam. A mother do mugbal. If today you're going through something where you feel like crying, Hashem will forgive you on that too. And He can make it teva nirva, even if you don't have a tach. I saw a video more than once where the Rebbe gave the person a bracha. I give you a bracha, you shouldn't have to have a tach. But, here comes the but then there's takha. The other side of the coin, with so many stories of Chassidim, where the punchline was, it's Purim. There's a story that Friedrich Rabbi speaks like that 1 year Purim. Tafshin, see there. Or it's Yutas Kislev. And the person says, Merais from mir Stike. I'm being torn to pieces. Aber says Yutas Kislev of the Welt. We're going to be happy. So that is also true, and that is one of the ways to transform the reality. And in that itself, there's many explanations, whether it's Trakov and Zangut, I don't have time to get into it now, or there's one thing where it says that Hashem mirrors our behavior, Hashem tzilcha, Hashem is like a shadow, there's Kigavna, there's many Torahs, there's a Torah of the Magid, which means by us acting a certain way, it causes Hashem to go off the throne of judgment into the throne of mercy and kindness. Just like we went out of our nature, even though all signs of the circumstances and the conditions was something that showed very bleak and darkness, but I saw the light, I saw the goodness that was behind it, and I went out of my nature, so then the Eibishter goes out of his nature, etc. There's a story with the Shachat family, where the Rebbe told the father to make a kiddush on Shabbos, even though the daughter was lying in the hospital, a baby, burnt in a terrible way. So I'm speaking to people, I hope you know most of the stories, and if not, ask me and I can send you a link or something where it's more at length. But now I'm going to tell you a story which I never said before, and I'm reading it from Sefer HaSichas Tov Reish Pei Zayin. It's a Sicha of the Friedrich Rebbe in 1926, Simchas Torah. And it says as follows. The Friedrich Rebbe started saying a story that one chassid came to his Rebbe. And the Friedrich Rebbe says, I cannot tell you who was the Rebbe and who was the chassid. Very interesting. And the chassid came to the Rebbe and told the Rebbe that I saw you in my dream. He told his Rebbe, I saw you in a dream, and that you told me that one of my children will pass away. The chassid told the Rebbe, you came to me in a dream and you informed me that one of my children will pass away. When he told this to the Rebbe gave a krechts. He gave a sigh. And then the chassid decided that he's staying with the Rebbe till after Yontif. So let's say he came for Sukkot. He decided he's staying till after Yontif. Anyways, when it came Parshas Lech Lecha, like after Tishrei, when he had to go back to his house, he went to the Rebbe again to ask for a bracha about this. So the Rebbe told him, "Es wird sein recht, it's going to be good." And the father said, I want a guarantee. And the Rebbe was maftiach him, he's going to live. And he was about to walk out, and the Rebbe called him back, and the Rebbe asked him, "What happened? What's your story? What happened during Simchas Torah this year?" And he said that while they were dancing by Simchas Torah, he was standing next to the wash bin, and he was crying, like standing next to the sink and crying, because he felt the news that he heard. But then he remembered, Halei Simchas Torah Hayom, today is Simchas Torah. And I washed my face and I went to dance with the Torah. And the Rebbe told him, Shebezeh po'al zeh shenishtani hakol l'tov chulu. With this, you affected that everything was turned around and it became for the good. So this is a story I'm reading to you black and white in the Sefer HaSichos of the Friedrich Rebbe, which means, like we say many times, azeh is the Indian. Sometimes there's a situation, call it even a gzeira, chas v'sholem, but we're told that you have the power through prayer, through going out of yourself, through doing something. And over here we're talking about, like it says in other places, simcha is mamtik the dinim. Joy sweetens the severities. I'll just say one more story, which I'm sure I said it before, which the Rebbe once said by Fabrein concerning the Alter Rebbe, and the famous story where they asked him all the questions when he was interrogated, and they came to the last question, and the last question was, why does the Alter Rebbe write in Tanya about the souls of non-Jews that it comes from Shos Klipsat Meis? That idea. So the way the story goes was that the Alter Rebbe smiled and didn't answer. So the way the story was given over from generation to generation, I think even the Friedrich Rebbe writes it in such a way, was that basically the Alter Rebbe was telling them, you really want me to answer this question? I answered all the 25 questions previously, all the 24, whatever the amount was, perfectly. Do you want I should explain it to you elaborately, how the souls of the Goyim are connected to Shos Klipsat Meis? You really want me to do that? So he gave that smile, and that was it. They got the message, and they didn't push it further. But the Rebbe, 1 year by Fabrein, quotes a source of a chassid that is brought down in the Sefer, that the reason why the Alter Rebbe smiled was to be mamtik dinim. Wow, it's a whole different word. According to the first interpretation of the story, it's saying, in relation to the Alter Rebbe's victory over the people that were holding prisoner, that he could explain it, but he'd rather not, and he gave a smile. It was a message for them to realize that he can give the answer, and I don't think you really want to do that. I don't think you really want to go through, hear me explain how the nefashos of Goyim come from Shos Klipsat Meis. But according to this beer, it's much more powerful. It's not about the avodah of the Alter Rebbe with the surroundings. It's about the avodah of the Alter Rebbe with himself. He wanted to arouse within himself a feeling of simcha. Because if he would arouse within himself a feeling of simcha, simcha is mamtik dinim. His being in a state of mind, in a consciousness, in a geula mentality, in a state of joy and bliss and happiness, that would trigger a mirror result above, that whatever decrees there were, whatever judgment that was going on against the Alter Rebbe and the movement, it would be nullified because the Alter Rebbe was simcha. So again, this is a message for the upcoming year. Tovshin Pei Zayin should be a year right now. Anybody who's suffering and anybody who's going through a hardship or a difficulty or a challenge, it should be nullified completely, and we should see the Toiv Anirev Anigla. But let's remember that it starts with an approach We have to look forward positively to Elul, Melech Basodeh, with a smile. And it's only going to be good, b'teivan Nigla. That's the approach. And through Simcha, we're mamtik dinim. And this should be permeated us throughout the next whole month, into Tishrei. Kuchabis, posting from my home, Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, your man in Melbourne.